Well, first I would like to thank Layer 1 to 3 to bring all of us with awesome conferences where we can share our accomplishments, challenges, and what next in market. Well, it's the topic which I'm going to cover today is towards some of the challenges which we had for network automation and what we have done in Verizon. It's a perfect information transition from what Viraj talked as a keynote to Amit, and a similar ground, the challenges which we have. We have to agree it is a paradigm shift from a traditional service deployment to a virtual service deployment. There's nothing new about it. But to point out some of these, it has given us a platform where we can build software-based network functions, accelerate some of the service deployments, has come up with different ways of deploying the services, have given us the flexibility in the licenses, especially from vendors. Also has given a platform where we can accomplish that automation and end-to-end orchestration and delivery. Flexibility where we can have policy management, deployment of service chaining, and last but not the least, closed-loop assurance, which is one of the main aspects of virtual network service deployments. But challenges still prevail. So I'm going to go through some of the interesting challenges which we had in legacy, and especially with NFV, SDN NFV. Process of designing the network to provisioning is pretty legacy and is challenging in itself. For example, the designing of network to the provisioning traverses through multiple roles in organization. Starting from sales, you're talking about solution architects, implementation engineers, provisioning team, and of course the network. The information is traversed in multiple artifacts today. You can say Visio, you can say Word document, and Excel. So there is no single pane of glass where you can have the information stored. And because of multiple handoffs, the information gets either lost or gets duplicated, which results in delays in provisioning. Solution which we provide for enterprise customer is complex in nature itself. We are talking about thousands of locations for our enterprise customers with multiple applications in their customer premises, and you have network configurations. You can have SD-WAN deployment, you can have regular non-SD-WAN deployments. We are talking about multiple network elements like firewall, load balancers, so on and so forth, and traversing through multiple access and transport network, reaching out to their other locations, our data center, or the hub and spoke method, the topology. Now, you're talking about multiple configurations, parameters, multiple aspects of network, which is kind of widespread. So one of the examples which I would want to talk about is one of the complex deployment models we have today. For example, implementation approach for SD-WAN, you can have a greenfield with a partial transitional with a transport diversity, which I was talking before. And then you can have deployment model, which is premises-based. You can have cloud-based, and could have hybrid. And then platform where you can have dedicated CP, purpose-built CP, or universal CP, which could be, and you can have a standalone versus virtual. And you're talking about management layer where the security services, performance management, and application access. Another interesting problem, or one of the main challenges, is what industries are all ranting about is VNF interoperability and packaging. I still wanted to put that here to tell it's not just deployment which is the issue. It's actually ripple effect towards automation for end-to-end. Reason? VNFs have their own deployment descriptors. The deployment models are different. The definition of high availability is different for all the VNFs. Result? Service providers had to come up with network service descriptors, which are kind of customized to the solution. And then every one of them have its own controller. That means there is an integration aspect which has to go in controller. The service assurance supposed to be, which is plug and play, is not plug and play because of all these issues. So what does that mean? The testing and verification is taking a lot of time, which is causing these VNFs to be getting into catalog. Not supposed to be minutes or days, but it's taking weeks for us to get in there. Well, we had these challenges, I understand. And there's another part of it. If we have one of the VNF deployments compared to old ways where we had simple VN legacy PNFs, and SNMP way of pulling the information to understand what is the interface, what is the status of the service, and so on and so forth. But VNF, even though it gives the flexibility of doing this closed-loop service assurance, you're talking about multiple layers of data. You're going from the physical aspect, which is the CPE aspect. Then you're talking about the OpenStack or the hypervisor, which is different from, again, different UCPs which we have deployed, the VM itself and VNF itself. So this information has to be pushed to service providers, service assurance, to really get into the right way of taking the decision for any execution, or even to implement the closed-loop assurance. Well, with all these challenges, Verizon was still instrumental in creating a virtual network service portfolio with different deployment models, universal CP with different vendors we have, and Verizon private cloud, where we can have a virtual deployment. Bunch of VNFs which we launched in different categories: security, routing, SD-WAN, WAN optimizer, and voice. And then on top, different automated service chains, which we keep working on as and when we get requests from our customers. What does that mean? It has kind of, we were able to get certified multi-vendor ecosystem. We could replace multiple customer premises equipment, enterprise-grade private and public cloud environments, and we could also define usage-based pricing. And on top, we have managed services platform, which is beyond network operations. We are talking about tools, analytics, then digital services, and cybersecurity. Well, these were the services which we offer to customers today. But what did we do to build the end-to-end automation? We defined a bunch of modules to build a whole platform. First, start with Verizon Service Designer. It's an in-house designing tool. It's a pretty intuitive visual design tool where you can drag and drop and create a hybrid network services with virtual and physical. It kind of bridges the gap between what is customer expectation and what service providers its capabilities. It also gives a lot of features where product owners can define what kind of product solutions are ready to be offered to the customer. It intelligently produces design templates and a place and a manner where it can capture the configuration details and give a required artifacts to the orchestrator. So it integrates with the orchestrator and also produces business artifacts for different provisioning team. The next module which we focused on was Verizon Service Orchestrator. Now, while we were building in-house tool for designing the network, we also evaluated multiple service orchestrators in market, and finally, we did define what Verizon Service Orchestrator is. It has multiple roles and features. It enables VNF, quick, rapid VNF onboarding and the testing. Enables different virtual network functions, host deployments, and the service chain aspect. Then a service adaptive to users and applications, and define closed-loop assurance with self-service, self-analytics, policy management, and a way to it has a real-time visibility of the configuration and topology. The next module was VNS Service Assurance. So Service Orchestrator partnered with a third-party tool to build the closed-loop service assurance for capacity and resource planning. So if you see the concept of whole closed-loop service assurance, we are talking about, as the definition goes, you have to pull the data from multiple aspects. From PNF, you are talking about the white box, which is universal CPE, and you're talking about the hosting platform, which we have it in Verizon's private cloud. The information gets pulled, and then we have defined the policy engine and the signatures, which actually take the data, You understand what the root causes are, and then take the required action, and of course, the decisions and the actions and the execution part. Also integrates with the existing OSS, BSS for ticketing. So basically, both the open service assurance and the closed. Last but not least is Verizon service, self-service, and policy portals. So as Viraj and Amit were talking about what we are doing for customers, we have built different policy portals so that customers can do the co-management piece of it. Now, one of the main promise SDN and NFV gives is how can they operate their own network? Although Verizon does the management part of it, they still want to have some leverage, some platform where they can do the operation part, and that's where the policy portals, there are portals associated with monitoring aspects, and there are some related with how they can see their inventory, the existing topology, and so on and so forth, which has helped improve the service delivery piece of it, increase network visibility, simplified network policy orchestration, and whole in all, it has kind of bridges the gap between the OSS and BSS and some of those inflexibilities we have in legacy system. So ladies and gentlemen, in summary, the truth is VNF interoperability is not going to be resolved, and it's not going to be standardized pretty soon, but then we have to still build our own solutions, and that has to go smaller with the faster steps. We have learned to live or start the automation with the greenfield first, which is the best way of getting into the automation process, and then incorporate the legacy. And whole and all, the Verizon has changed the culture past 3 or 4 years. We have changed ourselves in such a way that we had to incorporate the innovation, culture of innovation, which some of the challenges which we had from the legacy to, which because of VNF, all that gives it's pretty flexible enough to give us a platform where we can build the automation platform, but still innovation had to happen because of the challenges. And the ultimate goal is to make our customers' life easy. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Wait.
First of all, thank you for sharing pointed truths, really. My question is on the service assurance part. Mm-hmm. How are you integrating the existing Orchestrator, OSS, BSS with your service assurance engine? Is that Verizon homegrown? Or does it also...
Verizon service, sorry, keep going.
And does it also do FMS correlation to that extent?
So what we did was we started with getting the Orchestrator, which could kind of incorporate with the third party. I'm not supposed to talk about the third party tool, but Orchestrator platform is ECM. It's from Ericsson, which we are using for some of these. And what we did, as I said, step by step, we focused on some of the service assurance use cases like recovery failure, scaling up and down, and then there was another use case. So we started using that one, started incorporating that one for the closed loop. And then what we are doing is the next step is incorporate the legacy service assurance piece with that. So again, as I said, step by step, we didn't want to kind of focus, take both the modules and kind of integrate. Rather, we went step by step.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else?
All right. I think I saved 5 minutes.